So most curved wall projects are horizontally installed, but occasionally we get requests for machines to lift vertical curved wall panels. So we're going to show you a video now how to do that. When the machine arrives on site, there'll be some extra components. You'll have a 90-degree turn bar here, and you'll have a couple of support stands here. And you'll also notice that the adjustable lift eye is not on the machine. That's redundant for a vertical wall application. So we're going to assemble this machine again, slightly differently from before, but Gabe and Neil will take it apart. So we're taking the cross arms off the top first, putting those to one side, again with the suction pads uppermost, so they're not touching the floor. We're taking the extension bars out of the cradle. We don't put these onto the machine at this stage. They just put those to one side. The 90-degree turn bar comes out of the cradle. The two support stands come out of the cradle. So all we've got left now is actually the machine in the cradle. And we're going to lift that using your crane or forklift out of the cradle. Just taking the pin out there. We're going to locate our lifting sling on top of the machine and lift it clear of the cradle. So just lift it out and move it to one side of the cradle so you can work on the machine. Okay, so the first thing you actually fit onto the machine is the 90-degree turn bar, which Neil's got there. This is definitely a two-person operation. You need to do this from both sides, the front and back of the machine, and keep the machine balanced. To attach this bar, you need to release the tilt lock to tilt this bar by about 45 degrees. You see as you've done there. And what we're going to do here is slide this turn bar on so these two grooves locate these two flanges on the machine here. So two people slide it into position and you'll hear a positive click. And what happens there is that this locking pin located into a slot on the back of the machine. To remove the turn bar, you just pull the pin and slide the turn bar off those two flanges. Simple as that. Okay, so I'm going to reinsert it. There we go. So definitely a two-person operation, as you can see there. But now that's inserted and affixed to the machine, you continue the assembly. So before you go too much further, you need to put the secondary safety strap onto the turn bar. So Neil's unraveling the secondary safety strap. That will be in the plastic box on the cradle. And the purple part has got a loop, and that loop needs to slide onto the turn bar at the back of the machine. So at the back of the machine, we're sliding the loop onto the turn bar along as shown. Okay, so make sure you actually put that onto the turn bar before you continue assembling the machine, otherwise you have to take everything off the machine to do that again. So now you can continue assembling the machine. You put the extension bars on the ends of the turn bar rather than on the side of the machine. Again, secure them with the pins and make sure the pins are locked with the R-clips. And you put the roof cross arms, the pad cross arms now on the ends of those extension bars with the pads facing downwards. Again, if two people do it, it keeps the machine balanced and makes it a lot easier. Lock those into position with the pins and the R-clips. And then you need to connect through the pads, through the suction hoses. Slightly different on this occasion because you've got the additional hoses on the turn bar, but we'll explain how that goes together in a moment. So the pads are connected to the hoses on the extension arms. You then connect those hoses into the outlets on the extension, on the 90-degree turn bar. And the hoses from the turn bar then go up to the machine outlets as well. I'll just walk that through with you in a minute when they're all connected. Keep hold of the blanking plugs for the machine because they'll need to be returned with the machine. But we connect it through. So now we've got the suction pads connected through the hoses along the extension bars. They're connected into the flanges on the 90-degree turn, and then the hoses from the 90-degree turner come up and are connected to the machine. So effectively, all 8 suction pads are connected through into the machine. So now you see the difference. We've got the suction pads basically mounted linear along the machine, front and back rather than side to side. And because of the nature of this turn bar, this allows this whole assembly to pivot, as you see there, and which allows us to achieve the vertical wall application. So we're now going to move our machine across to the panel and apply suction. It's probably worth talking about machine balance now, because when we're doing a horizontal lift, I omitted to mention, but it's pretty obvious that the machine has to be in the midpoint of the length of the panel, so that the panel hangs nice and level. But for a vertical lift, you need to position the machine towards the top of the panel. And we've only got a short panel here, but normally we position this part of the machine 1/3 to 1/4 of the way down from the top of the panel. Again, we're lowering it so the suction pads locate carefully into the valleys of the panel. The safety strap, we'll talk about how we apply that in a moment or two. We can switch the machine on that side. If you're able to switch the machine on, just let it prime itself. And then we can apply suction using the suction leader on the side of the machine. And you'll see the needle on the vacuum gauge swings round. We get into a green state now, so we're safe to lift. The vacuum pumps continue to run for a few seconds, but we're safe to lift at that stage. I'll just wait for that to go off so you can hear me. And at that point, you're safe now to lift this panel. It's the same process. You lift the panel slightly off the stack below it and apply the safety strap. Okay, so normally at that sort of stage, you're going to put the secondary safety strap around it. And again, remember, these are not optional. These safety straps must be used when you're doing overhead lifting. Just loops around, clips in to the snap hook there, and the length is adjusted here. Again, it's a one-time adjustment for the length, and you need it snuggish, but you need to be able to get the clip in and out. It's too tight there, so a little bit of length off there. So you can just clip it in and out like that. So with the vertical panel, as I mentioned, you need to be towards the top of the panel, usually 1/4 to 1/3 of the way down from the top. And as you continue to lift it, the panel will automatically rotate into an upright position. But with vertical panel lifting, as it rotates, the bottom edge of the panel has a tendency to scrape along the panel below it. So someone needs to control that bottom edge. Usually what happens, you just lift it off the panel and control it. There's not a lot of weight on that because the machine's taking the weight. Or you can put some cardboard or foam underneath that. But you need to prevent that from scraping across the panel below it. You can continue lifting, and eventually, if you've got a sufficient height, and we haven't got that much height in our warehouse, but eventually the bottom of the panel will come clear of the ground and the machine will be hanging